Hello and welcome, visitors and guests from across Vision Eye Care. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Erich Mattei, joined by my good friend, Dr. Paul Mormon, and we are just thrilled to launch what we believe everyone's been waiting for. Paul, thank you so much for joining us right here in the Crescent City as we launch GRT in 2023 and beyond.
I mean, we are super excited, glad to be here. We're in the Hilton Hotel, Riverside, just right on the Mississippi River. So I just came about 5 hours south down the Mississippi to join Erich here to launch this officially in 2023. So we're super excited. This is going to be super casual. So you'll hear the elevator moving in the background, the escalator. Somebody may walk by. You know, they've got things going on here. So we're going to keep it real and just keep it fun.
Absolutely. So I think to start the conversation, Paul, I mean, let's just really let's tie it all back to really what this is all about. So let's maybe start by just talking about the state of eye care.
Yeah. So I'm going to start first, just to kind of walk down memory lane a little bit, or walk down the path of memories again. We started this kind of back a couple of years ago, where me and a friend, we just thought, let's just do something fun outside. Let's get people outside into nature. And there's nobody doing CE at national parks or near national parks. And I'm just an avid lover of everything outdoors. So it evolved to now the penetration, the unwanted penetration in my mind of private equity into independent optometry. And what we found is a lot of our colleagues were thinking that was the only option they had. So we came up with this idea, Erich and I, at Vision Expo East, about 2 years ago now. Let's put together a great program in the outdoors where we're teaching people how to transition their practice rather than losing the legacy that they built with their practice. So we kicked off last year in Zion National Park, great 2022 event where we had an awesome group of doctors, a great group of vendor partners that we just came together. And as one of our vendor partners said the other night on our webcast, it was like a reunion. It's like everybody already knew each other, and we were just getting together to celebrate something. And what we were celebrating was independent optometry and the future of independent optometry.
Absolutely, Paul. And you know, I think if we think back to really, again, what spawned all of this from the very beginning is this shared vision. This shared vision that private practice, independent private practice, will save eye care. Quite frankly, as independent private practice is going to save all of healthcare, right? And when we're talking about independence, we're not talking about independence as defined by managed care and these industry juggernauts and private equity and such like that, but it's really talking about and embracing true independence that doctors as yourself and patients are seeking, right? It's the type of independence that is going to improve care, reduce the cost of care, and benefit everyone through profitable, modern private practice. And so in that regard, you know, let's maybe now jump into talking a little about, you know, as we've put all this together and you know, kind of grown this vision of GRT Summit, what started as, hey, a destination meeting for you know, private practice owners who really want to embrace their independence. And now we're kind of seeing it's evolving into so much more than that, really starting this movement across eye care. So why don't we talk a little bit about how we've brought industry together also in supporting what's going on here. And then certainly we're going to jump into a lot of content as far as like what we're talking about with redefining this future for private practice.
Yeah. What we learned when we started reaching out to some of our vendor partners with this idea and what it meant. And, you know, it was really cool because I could tell the story. You know, I could tell it wasn't just a pitch about a meeting or a pitch about you know, you should do this because we're going to have, you know, 300 attendees. It was what we were putting together at the meeting, who we were inviting, who was coming, you know, who we were, you know, reaching out to as our target audience. And the more I talked to vendors about that, and that group is, they said, that is the group that we're looking for. And that is the group that we want to support. You know, you go to the vendor partners that go to these meetings, and 200, 300 people there, they have maybe 10, 15 meaningful conversations, where we're talking about a smaller, intimate group, and everybody is a meaningful, you know, communication, and everybody has you have a meaningful contact, and you just, and what we learned is not only were the ODs kind of coming together and having fun at this meeting, but we were doing, you know, and this was the plan the whole time, was that we were befriending these vendors too, these partners that were with us. So we went on hikes together. We went out to eat together. We climbed Angel's Landing together. We went hiking on the Narrows, and pictures just abound from this meeting, just of people having fun together. You know, it just was exciting to see people go into a meeting and having fun again, you know, where it wasn't just in the hotel lobby. Nothing against the Hilton here. They've got a beautiful convention area and beautiful spot, but just so much more meaningful to have those contacts and have those communications and discussions while you're walking down the trail. You know, and this is right out of our contact, Bart Foster's kind of model of business outside, you know, getting corporate outside. This is getting optometry outside.
Absolutely. You know, there's really something to be said for like-minded people gathering in an intimate environment. And absolutely, you know, the beauty and grandeur of the national parks. And, you know, it's also really to consider, as you're mentioning, you know, it's thrilling to embark on some of these journeys together, some of these big hikes, but then it's just as thrilling and exciting to be able to enjoy the property, enjoy the resort property that we're at, you know, hanging out, having drinks, sharing stories, spa days, and a lot of really great things that folks got to engage in. But you know, what's bigger than that, I think, and what's, I know I can say for myself, Paul, when you first approached me about this, when at the time my company was in its fledgling, very, very earliest stages. But it was really, again, it ties back to the vision. I mean, sure, I was really stoked to go to the national parks, and I'm super stoked for all that we have in store on the horizon and such. But, you know, it was really this vision, again, recognizing that, you know, we have this public health need for vision and medical eye care that continues to grow. And to serve that need, we see modern optometry continue to expand its scope of care. And, you know, considering that really is truly at the core of GRT, and realizing that independent private practice is best positioned to deliver that care. And in so doing, you know, empowering doctors to bring their vision to reality for that care they want to provide in their community, and certainly in pursuit of their own professional and personal goals, which we're going to get to a bit later in the conversation, considering that transition is such a critical element, right? You know, realizing that private equity is not the only way to transition to that next chapter of your life and what have you. But again, super far out in bringing everyone together with this common vision. So why don't we, and I know we've got so much to get to here in this conversation, but why don't we maybe pivot and do the first introduction of what we have coming in 2023. You know, for those who are tuned in, maybe on a, you know, we're coming, if you're tuning in live, it's a Saturday afternoon. We're coming at you live shortly after 1 p.m. Central Time right here in New Orleans, Hilton Riverside, overlooking Canal Street. So, Dr. Moore, why don't you share for those guests that maybe don't have a ton of time this afternoon, let's go ahead and launch the official announcement of GRT in 2023.
Yeah, what we learned from our initial group was we had this, you know, fantastic group of very, you know, mature practices, you know, and they came from all different doctor alliances. They came from just, I'm super independent. I'm not even part of an alliance. We had I think every alliance represented there, every doctor alliance. And what we learned was that they were wanting more than just what we were offering at this meeting, which was just, business education, business enhancement, and just some really just great see by Dr. Chris Roden about new technologies, new ways to impact your medical practice and grow your medical practice. But we tried to bring some of this, what I call the office enhancement CE, with some very smart optometrists, smarter than me, that I invited to the meeting to talk about these things that they've done in their practices. But we learned is that these ODs, they had new associates that were coming in, and they had new partners that they were bringing in, and they wanted ways to train these new bright and shining optometrists that were just coming in with lots of energy. But as we all know, when you train a doctor or a technician in your office and you tell them the protocols and the processes, they hear it and they listen to it. But then when somebody else tells them, they said, "Oh yeah, I've heard that before," and maybe that guy is smarter than I thought, because he's not the only one that's saying do it this way or do it that way. But we're kicking off this year's GRT meetings on May 18th through the 21st in Estes Park, Colorado, where we're going to have bring together a group of ODs that are either cold starts, whether they're just about to start their practice in the coming months, or they're within 1 to 2 years of opening, and they're just looking for some help, just some assistance, some guidance. Then also a new associate to your practice. So if you're bringing in a new associate and you want to get them ramped up for success quickly, this is a great meeting for them to go to. A new partner, great way to get them to really accelerate what they can do in the office, whether it be enhancing patient care, getting better referrals, getting more referrals in the practice, and just basically getting into the culture of your practice and being an integral part, as soon as possible. Okay. Yeah, and so we're going to get these young, bright and shining ODs together, and we will not only teach them how to become better partners, better associates in the practice, but also we're going to put them together with like-minded optometrists that are in the same stage in their own study group. So they will be it'll continue past the meeting. And that was one of the goals from the very beginning, that it wasn't just a meeting and then we all left and went home, but it continued on throughout the year until the next time we met with these study groups. So like I said, that'll be May 18th through 21st. Estes Park, Colorado, and Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yeah, Paul, and as you know, that's working with this next generation of practice owners, whether they're cold starting, whether they're purchasing that fixture up, or whether they're coming into a practice as a partner. As you know, that's near and dear to the work that we do. So it's tremendously exciting to be the first and only event of this nature across the industry. Again, GRT for cold starts, new associates, and new partners. It's going down in just a few months. Estes Park, Colorado, Rocky Mountain National Park. And Paul, as we were discussing before, some of the primary focus that we're really wanting to do here is really to help empower these emerging practice owners to be strategic business people, right, in owning their practices. Once again, whether they are cold starting, building something from the ground up, whether they're purchasing that fixture up, or whether they're getting an opportunity to join a practice as a partner, to position them with the knowledge that they need and the business fundamentals to run a profitable, modern, people-centric practice. So super exciting stuff there. And for those that want to learn more, I think is the website updated yet with the registration link? If not, it should be right around the corner, right? GRTsummit.com.
Yeah, GRTsummit.com. It's coming. We're, truth be told, I work 5 days a week. So I wish I had more admin time to do and to help out, but I am just a little behind at the start of this year. Just trying to get everything going with the practice, and but yeah, it should be up and going. We have Kristen Langley, who is one of our friends at Krinos, that's going to help with some of the marketing of these events that we have this year.
And Paul, today, in conjunction with this GRT live event, we're also launching the GRT link. First community of its sorts that truly serves to with the goal being, and again, go into social media, go to Facebook, and there we go. Des and beignets. Knew it wouldn't be long. So again, y'all, we're having a great time here this weekend in New Orleans, launching GRT 2023. But getting back to what I was saying, grtsummit.com for everything you'll need for GRT, but also link up with us. Link in at the GRT Summit link there in Facebook. Promises to deliver on something that that a lot of people are seeking right now, right? Because the fact is this, Paul, I think a lot of the excitement around GRT comes also from the fact that we're changing the narrative. I mean, let's face it, uncertainty runs rampant. But whether we look at that uncertainty from a standpoint of, are we approaching that uncertainty fearful of it, reactionary behavior, or do we see more of the opportunity on the horizon? And in so seeing that opportunity, take proactive steps towards doing what needs to be done to have that thriving modern practice. So you can find all of that there in the GRT link there in Facebook. Again, Krinos' own Kristen Langley, quarterback in that. So we're really excited for all that has in store.
Yeah, so just to springboard off what Eric said. So right now our Facebook is GRT_ODs, and you are welcome to join that, and we would love to have you in that group. But we're going to be transitioning everybody to GRT link on Facebook. So GRT link on Facebook is the place to go from here on. We'll eventually move like I said, everybody over that's from there, because that's going to be the new community. It's going to be a forum. Instagram, it's GRT.ODs. LinkedIn, GRT Summit.
That was a call from Dr. Tim Early.
Okay.
Colin says that he's loving this. He's super stoked about everything that's going on with GRT, and he wanted me to say hi, by the way.
Hi, Tim.
So again, Paul, like everything we're doing, and it all started with that vision, that phone call, right? Like, hey, there's this idea, and again, we got folks from across the industry banding together to really change the trajectory of things for independent private practice. So okay, so mark your calendars for all you emerging practice owners out there. 2023 is going to be your year to cold start, to perhaps purchase and modernize that fixer-upper, or to step into a partnership in the practice you're a part of. If that's on the horizon for you in 2023, would love for you to join us for the Cold Start GRT at Rocky Mountain National Park in May.
Is it possible to pull something up on my screen, or is it only your screen that you can pull something up on?
I think you can share your screen while we join the website.
Well, I was just going to pull up a picture, because I don't think I can't really hold it up and show them. What is kind of integral to any of our events is, like, as you've heard, getting outside. Okay, so every one of our events, we do our education generally in the morning. Mother Nature if Mother Nature allows. We found that out a little differently last time, but we try to do it in the morning, and then with the idea that we get outside after that. So we did this fantastic sunrise hike out in Zion, and for this Rocky Mountain National Park group, I've already found our hike there. It's called the Ute Trail. So basically you drive into the park up to, like 10,000 feet. You can drive up really high into that park. And then it's just a ridge trail that goes out to this edge of this mountain. And we're going to sit out at the edge of the Ute Trail and watch the sunrise. So it was really cool last time because we loaded up, before first light, and we were in the car for 30 minutes getting up to this trail. And then as we were hiking out there, it's first light. And as soon as we get to the spot where we're going to watch it, the sun's coming up over, for there it was southern Utah, but, it'll be over the Rocky Mountain National Park there in Estes Park. So hopefully have a sunrise hike, a sunset hike. We're going to do a mountaintop experience where the plan is to drive up on ATVs. So it's not just like, kind of something cool just to do, load up a bunch of ATVs, go up to the top, watch the sun set, have like a little bonfire, grill s'mores, and then basically watch the stars come out, and then head back down the trail on the ATV. So the education is hopefully what you go for, but you come home talking about the education and the extra events that we do there, in addition to the bonds you make with the other attendees and the vendor partners that are going to be there. So it's not just a meeting, and that's what we talked about from the get-go. Is we want to create something that people came home talking about and telling their friends about. Best meeting I've ever been to, and it wasn't because of the CE, it wasn't because of necessarily the location. It was all of it. It was everything. It was the whole gamut of what we do there at the meetings.
Absolutely. And I think now, seeing that this creation of this community, right? Because to your point, it's not just that one event, but it's everything surrounding that. So it's fascinating to see the relationships that started at GRT that are now flourishing into some really remarkable opportunities. And again, with this sense of community and sense of purpose and goals, that's about growing that thriving, modern, independent private practice, right? And the workshops, absolutely. And I think that's something that's going to be a really big thing that we're really excited to present coming out of this first ever industry, never before done across the industry, having an event that is solely focused for doctors who are cold starting practices, purchasing practices, or becoming new partners in a practice. There's nothing like that out there. And our mission behind that is not only to have a remarkable experience, educational, exciting experience out at Rocky Mountain National Park, but also coming out of that to, again, have these study groups and everything that is a part of this collaborative purpose moving forward. It's super, super remarkable. So I know we've got a ton to get to. Mark your calendar if you're looking to cold start, purchase, or your new associate. And also for those doctors who are established practices and have that associate who you're ready to make partner, we're also talking to you. Invest in your people, invest in that associate that you want to make a partner in your practice. We'd love to have them join us out at Rocky Mountain National Park, Estes, Colorado, that third weekend of May. So Paul, I guess before we jump into commenting on the next event, let's maybe talk a little bit about, we talk about being a part of this community and the fact that it's not just the event, but also the study group and like this really cool organism that is the community of GRT. So, why don't you speak a little bit as far as the webcast series that we got planned here for 2023 for both those that are climbing the summit, but also for everyone, for the masses, even the folks who maybe it's not quite time for them to go to a destination event.
Yeah. So with the start of it last year, it was a one-time event last year. We had the one event, and that was just because there's a lot of preparation that goes into an event. A lot of these meetings that you go to, they have so many behind the scenes people that are helping. get this event off the ground, make sure everybody is, gets to there, gets, transportation there, whatever it may be. We really didn't have that just because we were getting going, and we kind of wanted it to be a little bit of a bumpy road, if you will, because that's when you learn the most, is when you have a little bumps. If everything goes smoothly through your whole life, you never really figure out anything. In my opinion, we definitely have had, my wife, who's here with me, celebrating her 28th birthday. Just kidding. Plus 20. But anyway, we talked last night as we were sitting in the lobby, just about how many bumps. We have all of our kids in college now, and you think, oh, you're in this empty nest phase, that everything would be just smooth sailing, but it's not. It's still bumpy. We still have things going on at the office. We still have, our children still have issues, but there's just, there's so much that goes into this, and that's why I'm so excited to have Kristen involved. We're bringing on some more OD partners to help in the group. Mark Capperman, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Ryan Powell, Kansas City, Missouri, and obviously our speaker at last meeting, Dr. Chris Roden. We have this kind of leadership team, and Eric coming on to help us with all of our promotional stuff with his, team of rock stars that can help us. I forgot the original question now. I got to talking. I'm so sorry. What was it again? Okay. We were talking about the community. That's what it was. Okay. So anyway, what we learned is, there's several OD communities out there, and they all operate in a certain space, and it's, some communities do this, some communities do that. We kind of want to fill the void in between a lot of those spaces, which is, only independents, only independent eye docs, only, and vendors that are really dependent on independence. We've got, a great group of, our vendors that were our founding partners, and that's what we call the ones that were at the very first meeting, that now they're referring some of their friends in the industry to come in to be vendor partners because they had such a great meeting with us at the GRT 1. So we're expanding in that space with our vendor partners and creating these two communities. So we're going to do one community that's called See the Summit, and that's basically anybody who wants to be a part of it. So it's an OD who has not attended one of our events or has not registered for one of our events, and also a vendor partner that is not ready to, like as Eric said, to jump in as a sponsor, but kind of want to just to learn more about the group and what it's all about. So that's going to be the See the Summit group. Then the Climb the Summit group is whenever you attend one of our events, you're automatically a member of Climb the Summit for the rest of your career, regardless if you ever go to another one again, just because, we don't feel like anybody that goes to one of these events, I think we feel like they'll come back, every year, if not, and then send their associates to our new associate summit, or if maybe they're going to cold start a practice and they bought their original practice, which was already established, and they don't know how to cold start a practice. So you may have a mature optometrist that wants to go to one of our cold start because he's cold starting a new practice out in the neighboring city or down the road in the next town, that kind of thing. Because, I think what it all boils down to, Eric, is a good optometrist. Let's say a great optometrist is one that can honestly say, I don't know everything. And there's smarter people out there that have been there, done that, been down the road, and I'm going to sponge off them and learn, I learned so much being around a group because you can pull a little bit from one person, pull a little bit from another person, and then you write all those down and you analyze it, and then you come up with your plan, and because your plan has to be what fits your community, what fits your demographics that you have, your size of your practice. I I love technology and I love bringing in new technology, but there's some technology that we brought in that just didn't fit with our practice, even though it sounded great, it just didn't work, you know, and, but sometimes you don't really know that until you try it. Or, you know, I wish I would have had a friend that had a similar practice, could have said, you know, I tried it and it didn't work out, you know, or something like that. And that's what as much as we're talking about our successes between each other, we're also talking about our failures. And I think that's what makes this group a real group, is we're all willing to talk about what we did wrong and what we learned and what we improved on. And as we had a conversation about, you know, just the other day, so.
Well, and you know, to put it in context also, look, this is all just part of modern business. I mean, whether we're talking optometry or, you know, private practice eye care or anything, it's definitely, there's a lot of dynamics, out there. And I know also dynamics in our personal lives, you know, and again, that's something, it's a really beautiful thing that we're doing with the GRT. You know, Paul, I think back to when we were having one of those very first conversations when you had shared the idea, and, you know, that sense of fellowship was a big part of it. And, you know, the human side, and, you know, obviously we can get easily wound up in business metrics and KPIs and analytics and goals and growth and profit and all these things. But, you know, there's definitely a human element that I think a lot of folks really, really are seeking in addition to all that stuff. And I think it's really the cool thing about this is, like, it's like this perfect combination of, like, hey, y'all, and by the way, if you're going to join us at a GRT event this year, yeah, we have a lot of fun doing adventures, and we have a lot of fun during happy hour. By the way, it is in the afternoon on a Saturday, right? Cheers. It's part of GRT. But in addition to all the fun and adventuring, y'all, we got businesses we're wanting to grow. So, you know, so that, you know, if you're coming for the fun and adventure and happy hours, trust me, we got you covered. But the core of it also is the business piece. But to bring it all together with this balance, this fellowship, this sense of purpose, shared purpose, it's absolutely remarkable. So, Dr. Mormon, you were mentioning we've got See the Summit, which we're super excited to be able to present. And with See the Summit, you know, a lot of that, really everyone will congregate and join us there and hook up at the GRT link community there in Facebook. See the Summit, we welcome everyone from across the industry, doctors, students, industry partners. And we got a lot of really remarkable things in store, right? And then Climb the Summit being, hey, if we're ready to go to an event, and we've got our first ever Cold Start event coming up here in May, again, for Cold Starts, new associates and new partners in a practice. And Woody, is it time to present and launch GRT 23?
Yeah, I think so. Just as to bridge that, as Eric was saying, so the Climb the Summit is our attendees, current vendor partners, and anybody who signs up to an event, and a new vendor partner that signs on to partner with us. And what is also important, and we had a webcast just last week about this, and we want our vendor partners to basically enjoy this group, not only because of the relationships they make, but also the business that they receive because of it. You know, so all of our events, you know, we have a vendor challenge that comes out of this. And so we're getting ready to kick those off too. And the vendor challenges all has to do with it revolves around that vendor's, their technology, their products, their programs. So, you know, we had these great vendor partners. And for instance, you know, one of our good friends, Jen Denham at Optify, you know, I'll give a shout out to Jen. Hopefully she's watching online. But, you know, basically hers, you know, I was trying to encourage her to do something with Optify. Like, hey, you got to who can do the most with who can improve the most with your software? And she says, no, that's not what it's all about. It's all about just improving. And when you improve and you learn, well, hey, I can improve even more using a great, product like Optify or technology like Optify, then, our meeting speaks for itself. It's like they're linked in for the long haul with us. But so just remember, so 2022, we're starting our vendor partner challenges right now. They're going to go till probably, hopefully, either end of June into July. We'll announce those at the GRT 2 meeting, which will be this coming fall, September 6th through 10, in Bar Harbor, Maine, right at the base of Acadia National Park. So as you can kind of see, or if you know about last year was West Coast, being in southern Utah. This year, East Coast. Next 2024, just to give you a little sneak peek, we're going to try and go a little bit more central and go into Jackson, Wyoming. So we'll talk a little bit more about the future, but so Bar Harbor, Maine, got some great things in store for you there. We got some great hikes lined up. All of these and all of our GRT meetings, for those who are even more adventurous, we do a pre-event meeting or pre-event kind of adventure. So this past year over in Zion, we all got in early and flew into Las Vegas, and we climbed Mount Charleston, which is just outside of Las Vegas, the highest peak there in southern Nevada.
Yeah. It was. We all flew in for a casual walk up Mount Charleston, between Vegas and Zion. Y'all, oh my gosh, I was not there. I can't speak to it, but Paul, dude, it sounded freaking epic.
So 18-mile hike, right up to 12,000 feet. So not a Colorado 14er, but for a guy from Memphis, Tennessee, at 300 feet sea level, it was tough.
But you know what? But I will say this: everyone that was there for that pre-adventure, right? Because y'all went in 3 days before. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So then for the rest of us that arrived day of, right? So we all flew in. We had some shuttles from Vegas and from St. George, and everyone was hitting the property in time for happy hour. To hear these stories of y'all hike from the day before, absolutely epic. So the pre-adventure, I knew there's a pre-adventure in store for GRT 23,
right,
up here at Acadia National Park. So what are we doing for the pre-adventure?
So for the pre-adventure this year, those pre-adventures are going to fly into Boston, and we're going to drive about 45 minutes north to, I don't know exactly how to say it, because I'm not from the Northeast, Gloucester, or do you know how to say that word? It's
Gloucester? Is that right?
Gloucester? I don't know. Whatever.
Gloucester?
It's where all those big, all those tuna boats come out of from the show Wicked
and the
Tuna.
Grateful Dead played a bunch of shows up there in the Northeast, but Gloucester.
Yeah. So we're going to go up there, and we're going to do a tuna fish adventure. So we got a couple boats reserved to go tuna fishing on Sunday, I believe. So that's like a long, like 14-hour day or something, where you leave at like 4 a.m. and you pull back in, to the dock at 6 or so, whatever that would be. And the hope is you reel in a big tuna, but regardless, it's going to be fun out there. If you're not catching tuna, they take you fishing for mackerel or something else. So, but just a great way. Then we'll go on to Bar Harbor, have a day off, just chill out in Bar Harbor for Labor Day. And then on Tuesday, we're going to do a really just epic mountains and sea hike through Acadia. So we're going to start at one end of the park, Katy is not a very huge park, but so we're going to start on one end of the park, climb over Mount Cadillac, which is one of the prominent peaks there, go all the way to the coast, and then do about 5, 6, 7 miles along the coast, just hiking along the cliffs, as the rocky shoreline with the waves crashing, and just that whole sensual kind of deal with the salty air and the loud noises and the buoys bouncing in the water, then climb back over another mountain called Beehive, back to where we started, and about 18 to 20 miles hike on that one too. But it's not like climbing to the very top of a peak. It's more of just low level hiking. It's just more long than anything. But that'll probably take us about 8 or 9 hours, and then we'll be back. We'll be there, and then we'll usher all the rest of the group that comes in that can't make it to the pre-event. We'll usher them in on Wednesday to kick off the meeting.
Awesome. And you know what's amazing about that stuff? Because, man, thinking back to Zion, and absolutely looking forward to what we've got with the Cold Start event, May 18th to 21st, and GRT 2, September 6th to 10th, up there at Acadia National Park. Oh, and by the way, the Cold Start event is at Rocky Mountain National Park. Failed to mention that. Go to grtsummit.com for all the info there. But something really exciting about these adventures. Man, look, I think back to that hike up to Angel's Landing and the hikes deep into the Narrows, and the connection you'd make with people. And in so doing, sharing stories and getting to know each other personally and sharing stories, but also just the shared excitement. And, in a location like that, it just kind of fills you with this sense of passion and wonder, and kind of like anything is possible, So I don't know, as you were talking about with the what's it called, Sea to Summit hike?
Mountains and
Sea hike. Just, man, can't wait to get there. That's going to be amazing.
And after, I'll butt in here real quick. Sorry. After all those adventures that we did, after everything we did, and all the, we had people that really overcame some fears to climb Angel's Landing. I mean, people said, I don't know if I can do it. There was a couple of folks on the hike that I led up there, and they said, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, look, you don't have to do it, but when will you be back here? When do you think you'll be back here? Well, you might do it later. When would you be back here to overcome that fear? And, why not now? You know what I mean? And I think to see some of those folks that just had this fearful, as they looked up at those chains, hanging off the mountain, and saying, yes, I can do this, and yes, I can. And yeah, I'm all in for this adventure. And it was just so cool to see these folks as they came back down. And, I was kind of guiding them, telling them where to, because I'd done it before, telling them where to put their foot and make sure you hold on here. And we got to slide over this way. It was really cool, to be a guide in a true sense, but also kind of metaphorically as, I'm kind of the tour guide in GRT. And now, I've got more tour guides to help, which is great. But as we started, and I just can't say enough about just how fun it is to get a group like this together, small, intimate, like-minded group together that just has a lot of fun together. But anyway, after all those hikes, we got back to the hotel, and it was like we were camping out as a teenager or something. Eric went and got his guitar out of his room. We had fire pits going on the property, and while we were waiting for our dinner on site, we drug some coolers out there, and just everybody was sitting around and just talking about our last night there. So it's like your last night at camp, where you just talking about to your friends how much fun you had and how much you can't wait to see them till next year. I can't wait to come back can't wait to come back to camp next year. So, hey, maybe this is just an adult OD camp and vendor camp. And, you know, I didn't really think about that, but it just kind of popped in my head, you know. But, you know, that's what I want to convey to, you know, this group or these folks watching, is that there's nothing else like they're out that. And I didn't even really know when I talked to Erich about what my vision was, and then when we talked to Dr. Roten about it and he jumped on, you know, I really didn't know what was going to happen. You know, I really didn't know. And then as I shared to all of our group, it's like, you know, my wife thought I was crazy that I was doing this. And then I said, well, I think it's important. I think it's the right time to do this, something like this. And we put it out there. We started advertising for it, and nobody signed up for a couple of weeks. And, you know, I started thinking, well, maybe she was right. Maybe this is not something that people want. And then lo and behold, Samantha Hamlet from Olympia, Washington, got online, signed up, and said, I can't wait for this meeting. I've been looking for something like this for years. So I said, all right, we got one. And it may just be the four of us out there. And then one became
far more than that.
One
yeah,
became
man.
three,
it
and
just exploded.
3 became 7, 7 became
exploded.
10. And, you know, then we got vendor partners inviting some of the doctors that they call on. They said, I think you need to be here. Derek Johnson with Neuralens. I mean, I think he brought 2 or 3 people out there that hadn't heard of the meeting, but he told them about them. So it was great to have Elise and Dr. Allard out there. You know, it was just wonderful to have Tyson and Elise out there, and Elise brought Tim, you know, who he was just the ultimate adventurer, you know. So that brings up a point.
It brings up a really great point, man.
You know,
absolutely.
Spouses are invited, you know, so we'd love, especially if they're adventurous, you know, they are invited. We had one family that brought 3 generations. They had the Tim and Wendy Goldsmith from Minnesota. They brought their partner, their daughter, and then they had their son who was like the practice administrator came, and then kids were there, and man, it was fun because they were all in the water in the Narrows, just trudging through, having this great family adventure. In addition to, so they had this family adventure and intertwined with this GRT adventure that we were all on too. So,
absolutely, and you know, we're talking a lot about you know, the adventurous side of all of this, but let's also shift it to and realize that there's definitely a big practice management element, right? Because even what we're doing here as it pertains to CE, it's not just some useless CE that everyone's going to like read a newspaper or roll their eyes through or take a nap through. It's engaging content, but what makes it all the more impactful is that it's followed up with a business workshop that's more implementation focused, which again is something that we're the only folks out there that are presenting this in this manner, to couple that continuing education piece. But bigger than that is, okay, it can have impact in my practice, but there are considerations, operational considerations, business practice management, in addition to some other areas that we're getting into. So why don't you speak a little bit to that also, Paul, as far as like the structure, because as we said before, I mean, we're all about adventure and we're all about fun and stuff like that, but also the type of business workshops and practice management content that we're providing in this collaborative community manner is something that no one else in the industry is doing.
Yeah, and I think what it boils down to is, you know, it's education, but it's also strategies, you know. So we're, you know, because you can go to a meeting and get knowledge, and you can go to a meeting and get education or learn about a technology. But if you don't learn how to take that and use a strategy to implement it into your practice, and that's what Erich is alluding to. So as much as it is about educating, it's about, you know, strategy of putting it into practice. So and we have, I think, some really great people that are involved here that have been there and done that. You know, we have people that have one location, single location, just mega practice. So if that's what you are, or you're not interested in having any ancillary practice or secondary satellites or anything, you've got somebody in the group that can help you with business education and workshopping on growing that one practice. If your deal is you want to make a footprint all over your city, county, you've got people that have cold started, people that have, started with one practice, maybe they bought that practice from a retiring OD and then added 2 or 3 more satellite locations. You've got people that they were part of a practice that got bought out, sold to private equity, turned around and opened up, next door or down the street, and just started this killer practice that's basically pulling out all the patients and staff from that practice that kind of, for lack of better words, kind of sold them out.
I'm going to call timeout. Can we call timeout there?
Yeah.
Just to draw attention to what Paul just said, if you're someone out there who were an associate in a practice and thought you were getting an opportunity to buy into that practice, and that owner has sold to private equity, you've got a remarkable future, and GRT can be your platform to make that happen. Abso-freaking-lutely. Okay, I'm going to mute myself again, give it back to you, Paul. I just had to slip that in there, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's so freaking far out, because really to think of how many young ODs out there, that is their reality. They thought they were on the path. They got swept up by private equity. Now they feel like they're stuck. You're not freaking stuck. GRT's got you covered.
Yeah, and there's somebody out there that, to stay on this theme of adventure, somebody that has blazed that trail ahead of you. So you don't have to walk through the high shrubs and high grass. I mean, somebody's been there to chop it all down and mow it all down and basically show you the way to where you can take something that was unfortunate and spin it around into a kick-ass practice that's in the same area, and that's kind of along the lines of what we have done is, our strategy has been to open up a new practice in the area of private equity, because that is a target-rich environment where there are people there that don't want to go to a private equity practice. They want to go to a independent eye care practice, and we just come in and market it as like we're the hometown guys that are owned by the local group, and they come in and we treat them differently. We treat them like we do in all of our practices. And I hear it all the time. Well, I tried the other guys and they just I just didn't like it, and so there's ample opportunities. And one of our long-term goals was to see how many cold starts we could start and basically take over that market that went the way of private equity, but we can steal it back or take it back as independence.
Absolutely. So, well, hey, we before I just noticed my mic was muted that entire time.
Oh, well.
So we're going to start here. Join the GRT link group on Facebook to be a part of GRT Summit. Whether you're looking to climb the summit and join us at an event this year, or you're just aligned, you're an advocate for independent eye care and want to be a part of this movement. And Dr. Moore, if you want to recap what we're doing for cold starts up here in May.
Yep. So just anybody who is thinking about starting a practice, one of our current GRT members, Climb the Summit community members, reached out and said, hey, we're going to hire 2 new doctors, but they can't start until June or July until they get licensed and credentialed. They said, would that be a good meeting to send them to? And I was like, absolutely. This would be a great meeting because we're going to tell them all the basics that they need to know when they come into your practice. So when they get to your practice, they've already heard it all. So it's kind of like, when you, I don't know about all of y'all, but when you take a class in high school and then you go to college, you take the same class basically, because you want an easy A. That's what I did, and you're like, I already know all this stuff and I just, can come right in and just ace it, so that's kind of what we want to do with your new associates, your new partners coming in. But it's going to be a fantastic meeting, and I guarantee you that your new associate partner will come away from saying not only did they learn a lot, but they just had a lot of fun. They made some contacts that they will just keep forever. GRT 2 Summit will be September 6th through 10th, Bar Harbor. And we're hoping that, Eric and I kind of talked about this a little bit. We're hoping that we have this deluge of people that want to be in part of this cold start, new associate, new partner group, new meeting. That, our goal is not to have a huge meeting. We don't want, 50 plus people there because it gets lost. The message gets lost. It gets watered down. There's not as much, connection. So we're hoping that we need another cold start meeting or another new OD meeting. And thinking about, cold start, I told Eric, I said, what better place to have a cold start meeting than the hottest place in the United States? So if we need to add a meeting, we're going to do another cold start meeting in Death Valley, California. We're going to warm up these cold starts to make them hot and just on fire, so they get back and they're on fire and ready to go. So
that's like some New Orleans slang right there, right? Drop it like it's hot.
That's right.
Love it. So okay. So we have the first ever, not only for GRT, but again, first ever in the industry, an event that's solely focused and solely catered to emerging practice owners to cold start a practice, become a partner of practice, or purchase that fixer upper. And by the way, y'all definitely, join the GRT link group there on Facebook for everything you're going to see as we're getting everything set up.
While you're doing that, let me jump in real quick. So, as Eric and I met at I can't remember what it's called, Yardbird there in Vision Expo, when we wrote everything down on the bar nap, GRT, grow, retain, transition, and the retain part of it, actually, I guess grow and retain was all about not only just your practice, but also your staff members, your team members, growing your team members and retaining your 5-star key person team members. So what do you do? And this is what we talked about the last meeting. What do we need to do? Incentivize. What do we need to do training wise to keep our 5-star employees and our team members with us? So with that, we talked about, what if we did a GRT meeting for key person optometry team members? So that would be your office administrator, your optical staff, your contact lens person, who does patient education. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we can do. So I guess what, I want you guys to understand is that it's not just ODs. We're not going to leave it at just ODs, because we can't be successful as ODs without vendor partners and without key person team members. So, I just have this vision of having a OD meeting, key staff person meeting, and at some point putting them all together and having just a really just cool meeting, but in the works and down the road, all in due time. But it is the opportunities are endless in how GRT can help you, your office, your team, your new ODs, all around.
Absolutely. So again, y'all, this year we've got the first ever, not only for GRT, but the industry, first in the industry ever that's focused and catered to cold starts, new associates, new partners. And then we've got, and this is going to be absolutely amazing, man, GRT 2023, September 6th to 10th, Bar Harbor, Maine, with the pre-adventure that big catch tuna charter we got lined up for that weekend before. And what do you say? Do we want to even invite folks to get their calendar out to mark the 2024 date?
Yeah. So tentatively, September 11th to 15th, Jackson, Wyoming. There's a really just kind of really cool hotel up there called the Wart Hotel, and very Western themed, cowboy themed. So just super cool. They have a little old timey band box where they have these just cool bands that come in. We'll be adventuring up in Yellowstone National Park and Grand Tetons. Just there's so many things that we've got on the docket that we can do that with, fly fishing, going out to a ranch and having a big barbecue out there. There's a horse whispering kind of, deal out there that I just think is cool. I'm not a horse person. I don't ride horses, but I just think it'd be cool to learn how to do that. You hear about that from that movie that made it, famous. But there's just a lot of things to do out there. We got hikes planned, in the works, but this is the only thing really that's kind of on the calendar for 2024. But as you guys can understand, there's going to be a lot more than just this one meeting in 2024. Hopefully maybe 4 to 5 events even in 2024. Absolutely.
And it all starts with now bringing everyone together, right? Bringing everyone together in the GRT Link group there in Facebook. Be a part of the community, and whether being a part of that community is you want to see the summit, right? You're an advocate for independent eye care. You're an optometrist. You're an optician. You're an industry partner, and you want to come together to meet like-minded people. Again, aligned in this vision, everything we're about with GRT. So it's all going to start there. So what do you say? Do we want to try to see? We can welcome anyone live. Do you want to toss that out there? So if anyone that's tuning in live wants to try to join us, again, we will try this. No promises. If in the process we absolutely lose all connection in this live event just crashes, be sure to make your way over to and join the GRT Link group there on Facebook. But not before right here in LinkedIn. Follow GRT Summit and link up with us there for everything we've got going on. So let's see, so if those of you joining us live would like to join us live on air to talk a bit about whether it's the state of independent eye care, if you are a doctor and you're passionate about the future of independent eye care in your practice, or if you're an industry partner. We welcome all to join us here live on air. And I tell you, Paul, as we're waiting to see if anyone would like to join us, let's maybe talk a little bit more about some of the cool things we're doing with these webcasts we've got going on. That's all going to be there through the LinkedIn community, right here, the GRT Summit. Again, follow GRT Summit right here in LinkedIn. We'll talk about what we're doing with the webcast series And let's maybe talk a little bit about the See the Summit series, right? That which we're kind of inviting everyone to be a part of, what that'll look like.
Yeah, and we know that, we're basically, this is Saturday afternoon, and it worked out where I was coming down here, and we said it'd be great just to kick it off here together. And we know that people have other obligations on Saturday, but something cool that we are going to do is we're going to do a bunch of these here coming up in the next several months. We are going to do a LinkedIn Live event at SECO in Atlanta, Georgia. So I don't know that exact date. Hopefully, Eric, you do. So where we'll have a booth set up, and hopefully, we're just going to grab people coming by, or if you want to come by and hang out with us and jump on, we'd love to have you. We're going to do that at, like I said, SECO. We're going to do it at Vision Expo East. There'll be hopefully one other event that we're going to try and do one at also. We're still kind of playing with some of those dates.
Well, I'll say this. What's really exciting about the SECO event as well, particularly, is that we'll be coming live from SECO at the Acrinos booth 750. So if you are at SECO here in Atlanta, March 1st to 5th, come on over to the Acrinos booth. I'll be there. Paul's going to be hanging out. We're going to be talking about a lot of really great things, a lot of really far out things we got going on. So definitely come and join us there at SECO 100, booth 750. Or if you're not going to be there in person, again, we're going to be coming to you live right here on the same platform, LinkedIn Live. And stay tuned, far more to come as that draws near. And we're also we'll be at Vision Expo.
Vision Expo, yep.
Building the hype.
Yep.
Making the connections.
And we're, there's another kind of cool thing that we're doing. I guess I can bring up now is we're looking at doing something from the loft actually there too.
Oh, by the way, I don't mean to interrupt, but it looks like Macu Health is going to be there at SECO.
Yeah. And
Macu Health is a partner of GRT,
right.
GRT Summit, the inaugural GRT Summit. So excited to have Macu Health there. Catch them at SECO 100 and probably catch, I think, the Macu Health crew. We're doing some great things here with GRT. So, Brittany, thanks for joining us. Thanks for dropping the note there. Paul, as you were saying, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So, there's kind of a couple parts to like Expo. There's an Expo East, if you've never been. So they have the main, exhibit hall. I'm going to take this off. I'm tired of it. I've been wearing my Rocky Mountain National Park hat to plug this, and it's itching my head, and I don't have as good looking hair as Eric does, but it's starting to bother me, itch me.
We're all spirits. We're all spirits.
That's right. But at Expo, they have what they call their loft area, and that's where they have more of the high-end frames and more of kind of exclusive type offerings. And we have a partner or someone there that actually wants to partner with us, and it would be a first ever kind of partner scenario with a high-end kind of retailer. So that's really cool, and that they normally won't do anything like that. They normally won't be a part of a group, and we have this little benefit of we have independents only. So, and we have, these core doctors that are, kind of movers and shakers in their community, and they've got great practices. This one vendor was introduced to me by one of our members, Jeff Smith, in Boulder, Colorado. Fantastic guy, fantastic practice. I was in his practice, and I was like, "Hey, I was at a site visit for Estes Park, and Jeff had just signed up for our Zion meeting, and I said, "Hey, Jeff, can I come down there and hang out with you? I'd love to see your office." And came down there, had some coffee with him. He showed me his office and said, "Jeff, I've been looking for this high-end retailer that we can partner with." And Jeff's practice is a boutique type, gallery, Iowa gallery. So I said, "Jeff, what's the best partner that you have?" And he told me, I'm going to be not going to release a name yet or anything, but so when I went out to the loft in San Francisco, I met with this vendor, and asked him if he'd be interested in our group, and he said yes. So he actually reached out to me the other day about doing something at the loft. So I think what we're going to do, Eric, is while we're there, we're going to do a little carve out and interview him at the loft.
Fantastic.
So it'd be really cool to do something there. I don't know if the loft will allow it, but we're going to sneak it in there anyway. Just kind of like we found this little corner in this hotel, but anyway.
So again, exciting stuff we're looking to do to continue to grow this movement, and it's really all centered around this vision of advocacy for independent private practice, empowering doctors to grow, retain, and transition a thriving modern practice. And that's another thing too that I think really distinguishes a lot of what we've got going on, right? It's realizing that what's necessary for practices to thrive now is radically different from even just a few short years ago, right? And it's all centered around, again, realizing that independent private practice is going to save eye care, right? But in so doing, realizing that the key to it is a lot in modernizing the practice. And that's where it's really fascinating when we do look across the scope of vendor partners that are part of it. It is forward-thinking, innovative companies that take a stand and support this vision and mission that we're on.
And also to tag onto that, also the education that we are going to provide at these events. Not only will it be first-class education, but it is going to be presented by people that are in optometric practices. Obviously it could be a co-management or a ODMD type practice, but it is somebody who is practicing in the clinic of their. It is not going to be a administrator just talking about a product. It will be somebody in the trenches. So very relatable to our group. That's what we want. We want somebody that can tell exactly, when we're discussing implementation and what's the ROI, what is the benefit of this technology, and that's where Dr. Chris Roten is going to come in to really link these great speakers out there and people that have a lot of knowledge and have these contacts to our group. So we're going to hopefully end up having a group of speakers and presenters and people, and not just medical CE. I'm talking about personal development speakers, somebody who's just going to tell you about how to work-life balance, because so much goes into being a successful anything, a successful, dentist, a successful optometrist, successful banker, finance guy. It's all about, balance. It's all about, your core values, your relationships with your family, your relationships, it's about, so we want to build up folks and help folks, not only become a better optometrist, but become a better father, better spouse, better wife, better, grandparent, whatever it may be. And that comes from balance. And, I've seen so much about this out there now in the LinkedIn community. I think it's once I hooked up with Bart Foster, is so many people talking about the benefits of being outside and how much, just being outside for a short time, every day or, a couple times a week, how good that does for your psyche and your overall stress level. And that is why going to these national parks is part of this group. You can go to some fantastic destinations and sit on a beach, or you can go to a fest, but, we're getting into the park. That's the whole part of the deal. It's not just to sit there and look at it, but to get in there and put feet to trail and hit that summit that, you didn't think you're going to be able to do, and wade through that that river and see that canyon narrow from 40 feet to 10 feet, and goes up to waist level, and you get a little nervous, but that's part of it. That's the growing stages of this group that we're putting together.
Absolutely. So, for those of us that maybe for those out there that maybe just joining us, we've unpacked a lot here, right? Talking about the mission, vision, and purpose of GRT, and all that's going on. The state of independent eye care, and what all the GRT movement has in store. So, So if you're just joining us, Erich Mattei, Paul Mormon, hanging out here in the Crescent City at the foot of Canal Street at the Hilton Riverside. We were talking about all that is going on, looking ahead at 2023 GRT. So, Paul, for those folks that are just joining us, why don't we just talk a little bit about how it all started, like where all this started? Because I believe it even predated to when you reached out to me. I'm like, what was the infancy of this vision?
So it started actually in National Park. It started as I was there with a friend of mine, an optometrist friend of mine, sitting there at the base. We were actually at Zion National Park, which is the reason why that was our inaugural, because it was very near and dear to me. And just thinking, why can't we do a meeting at a park? Why is it? And the reason is it's tough. It's hard. There's not a lot of meeting facilities. And, you think about, well, you got to have room, a big ballroom for 100, 150 people. So we just decided, all right, well, we're going to shrink that down to where we have more opportunities in some of these locations that don't have the best and biggest meeting facilities, but where we can still be close or in the park and have all the benefits of I'll say somewhat modern meeting facility, but not have to be in a traditional hotel setting, and so it grew from there. Fast forward about a year and a half, things were happening in my practice, and it just got a little busy, and kind of things got put to the back burner of this. And my friend originally who I talked to was part of a sale of a private equity, so he was unable to continue in that vision of what we were doing. My friend Erich Mattei called me and said, "Hey, I've got this new business proposition that I'd love to run by you." And I said, "Well, I'd love to meet and talk with you, because I've been thinking up some stuff, and, I wanted to see what you thought. We've known each other for years, and, both have a mutual respect, I think, for each other and our ideas on optometry and the community of optometry as a whole." So anyway, we met at Vision Expo. I think we talked about your company first, and, I gave him endorsement. I said, "I think you're perfect. I think you're the guy that can do this, and, wish you the best of luck." And moved to, well, what are you thinking? And we went to talk about optometry and the state of affairs, and that it was, optometry had a lot of challenges with private equity, with people, private equity coming in and enticing doctors to sell when they weren't ready to sell. And we started uncovering, well, why do people sell? And it's because they don't have a transition piece in place. They either haven't thought about it, or, just did not have that mode of thinking. And I said, well, we got to get independent optometry to start thinking about this. And by the way, while we're doing this, let's teach them how to grow their practice, retain more of their key people and their key patients, and springboard that into a transition plan. And let's give them the transition plan. Let's give it to them whatever stage they're in. And so that kind of, well, let's just go ahead and kind of plan out the first one. What do we think, and when do you think we should do it? And hey, November of 2022 was the true live birth of GRT, I guess you could say. And what a successful meeting it was, and in many different ways, as we've been talking about for the last hour and 20 minutes. But very successful. But I think most importantly, what we did to bring fun back to optometry, and what we did to bring fun back to an optometry meeting. We talk about, one of the things we talked a lot about last year pre the meeting was how GRT was not a transactional meeting. It was not, and when I say transactional, I mean you sign up, you pay your registration dues, you show up, you sit in class, you get a CE slip, and then you go home. I mean, that is a transaction. GRT is far from that in the fact that, yes, we do incorporate CE. We do incorporate even some medical CE to it, but it's so much more than that, because the meeting is just the start. The meeting is just the beginning of the voyage. As I like to say, that's the trailhead, and then now we're moving into now we're going to climb. We're climbing the mountain now. We all met at the trailhead, which was the GRT one, and now our group that was at the first meeting, we're on this journey to climb the mountain. And then when we hit that mountain, we're not going to stop and be satisfied. We're going to climb the next one, and then we're going to climb the next one. So just keep the accelerator down for optometry. And when we all have these perfect practices, and we all are, which will never happen, but when we all grow in our practice, we're gonna focus on other things like advocacy, state advocacy. Plans is having enough people in this group, this community, that we can help now make the laws of optometry universal. We all see different news of like what happened in California, and granted, each state has their challenges, but we want this community to be engaged in everything, and we want it to be the quote unquote group that pushes out everything that's negative to independent optometry and pulls in everything that's positive.
Absolutely.
And 2 people can't do that. 3 people, 4 people, 5 people can't do that. It takes a community, which is
absolutely
step one. Obviously.
And you're talking about some of that stuff that is stepping in. I mean, let's face it, man. Look, it's managed care. It's these industry juggernauts, these conglomerates, and it's private equity. So it's high time to kind of reclaim that, right? Because when we're talking about the independence that GRT is all about, I mean, it is predicated on this independence that, quite frankly, doctors and patients are demanding right now. And it doesn't just apply to optometry. It applies to all of healthcare, realizing that consolidation in healthcare has resulted in, radical levels of physician burnout and rising healthcare costs and an overall deterioration in quality of care. And it's within private practice that all of those things are the exact opposite. Cost of care is lower. Overall patient experience quality care is radically higher. Physician burnout rates, radically lower than industry benchmarks. But it's all in positioning independence. And I think that's the big thing is now something else that GRT is doing different is really approaching this from the standpoint of like the modern practice, because that's really what's necessary, right? For practices, for doctors to grow, retain, and transition the modern practice, not so much stuck in convention that I think, again, if we look particularly at the role of managed care, some of these industry juggernauts, these things that are kind of complicating matters, if you will. So So let's talk a little bit about, again, going back to what we're looking to do within the community. And for those of you just joining us, please, we remind you to definitely follow GRT Summit right here in LinkedIn, and definitely make your way over to Facebook and join the GRT Link group there on Facebook. So, Paul, why don't you share with everyone just what we're looking to do outside of even just the events, climbing the summit, what we're doing in the communities.
Yeah, so we're going to set up 2 communities within optometry space, if you will. And these are, we hope to find a little area where it's not being served, where you have this community that's taking care of this aspect of optometry, this community that's taking care of this aspect. We want to be in an area where it's underserved, if you will. And that is only independents. That's industry partners that thrive on independent optometry. And the way we're going to establish that or accomplish that is to have these 2 communities. Community number 1 is what we call See the Summit. And that's basically somebody who's just interested in what GRT has to offer. They, you like what you hear. You think optometry needs this. You feel like there's something I can learn from this, but I'm not ready to join a group yet, or I'm not ready to attend an event yet. So that's going to be all in See the Summit, okay? And these topics are going to be derived from our community, okay? So we're not just going to put out topics that we think are important. We want to focus on topics that the community or you guys think is important. Our Climb the Summit series is going to be an exclusive for our members. So our vendor partners that were sponsors of our first event or that have said they want to sponsor this year, in addition to our members, our OD members that came to the GRT 1, that, once you come to an event, you're in the Climb the Summit. So for, from then on. So no matter if you ever go to see one again, you're still going to be, in the fraternity of the community, if you will. And those topics will be specifically derived from that community, because one community may have different topics they want to talk about than the other. So we've already compiled a list of about 12 topics that we're going to talk about. One that I thought was most interesting that was posed to us was, I'm trying to remember exactly how they worded it, is what growth is expected in a practice that is 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old, 25, 30 years old. Like, what is, you hear about metrics and you hear about, well, you need to compare yourself to this metric and this metric. But what if you don't fall within that group that the sample of N is, addressing, it's like, so what growth is, reasonable? What growth should you be shooting for, if you're like, for example, our practice, 30 years old, what kind of growth should we be expecting? And I think that's a good kind of like very, way to say, well, I'm going to self-examine and know that, hey, I can't grow 15% every year, but what should I be shooting for? What is, if I'm not growing this much, what am I doing wrong, kind of thing, So I thought that was kind of one of the most, interesting things, is you just don't really hear people talking about, all you hear about is got to be growing this much every year, this much every year. When you bring in this technology, you'll grow this much. When you bring in this technology, so there's an intersection of what's reasonable, what's should be expected, and what is, kind of pipe dream, if you will.
Yeah. And that all ties back to something that
So 2023, we're super excited. We're going to kick it off May 18th through 21st with a, we can call it a new OD summit. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but it's basically for a new cold start, a new associate, or a new partner in a practice, where what we're going to focus on in this meeting is, ramping up your practice to quicker revenue production, better referral, standards, just basically kickstarting your practice. It's going to be at Estes Park, Colorado, right at the base of Rocky Mountain National Park. As with all of our meetings, we get out in the park. We do adventures in the park. We do hiking. We do fly fishing. We do whatever, really Mother Nature allows. We're going to do sunrise hike, sunset hike, s'mores and fire pits and all that kind of stuff, where there's going to be ample opportunities for collaborating and meeting fellow peers and vendor partners, outside of just the meeting room. Our GRT2 meeting, so our second meeting last fall was our annual meeting, or inaugural meeting, excuse me. GRT will be September 6th through 10th in Bar Harbor, Maine, right at the base of Acadia National Park. So be a great meeting. We're going to basically, it's going to be fantastic. No matter if you went to the first one or not. You are not, if you missed the first one, it's not like you're going to be missing out. You're going to just jump right into our group and, be able to make bonds with our group. We have a fantastic group that was at the first meeting. So I know all these guys and gals will welcome all the new members in. A lot of activities in and around Bar Harbor, Acadia National Park. We're going to do a sailing trip, hopefully some kind of lobster outing, in addition to just hiking and having fun on the islands there. And so fantastic, group. We're hoping that we're going to have so many cold starts and new ODs at the first meeting that we might even try to plan something in the fall, another cold start meeting. Because, granted, we feel like that's where we can really, really make an impact with GRT is these new ODs coming out to give them the foundation for remaining in private practice, staying independent, and then giving them a model of when to start thinking about transitioning. And transitioning doesn't mean necessarily selling your practice. It means transitioning from a single doc practice to I got to have an associate, or transitioning to, oh, hey, we've had this great practice here, but we need a cold start in the next town over because they're needing this great care that we're providing. So a lot of great things happening this year, and learn about them all on the GRT link on Facebook or the LinkedIn here, GRT Summit.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I don't know. I think we've kind of maybe reached the end of the road for now. So I suppose in conclusion, again, everyone, please do, if you're ready to take a stand and be an advocate for independent eye care, whether you're a doctor looking for ways to grow, retain, and transition to a thriving practice in this modern environment, or if you're a bigger industry partner who's a true advocate for independent eye care and sees how this really is what modern optometrists and patients are demanding, right? We invite you to join us. So visit grtsummit.com. Definitely follow GRT Summit right here on LinkedIn and join the GRT link in Facebook. And we look forward to seeing you this year in the community, hopefully at an event. We're going to be at... I just realized again, I've been muted this whole time. So redo.
Join us at our next LinkedIn Live event at SECO. Let's say Friday of SECO.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yes, that'll be Friday, March the 3rd, coming live from Seco 100. And definitely be sure to, as a matter of fact, this is something you can do today. Go ahead and follow GRT Summit right here on LinkedIn, and definitely join the GRT link there in Facebook.
Yep. Register for Seco. Come join us. We'll be doing this at the Krinos booth.
Booth 750.
750. Yep. And we would love to have our friends, OD friends and vendor partner friends, and just come sit and hang out with us. Whenever we do these things, we always have fun. We're life's too short to be too wound up for having fun, right?
Absolutely.
That's one of the pillars of GRT, as we've said, is have fun.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, cheers. Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers.